Before we get too far into what we're doing with records, we wanted to tell you a little bit about Triad. Now, some of you might have heard John, our CTO, talking a little bit in the last session, but at a very, very high level, Triad Retail is a digital marketing agency. We are partners, and our clients are the most major retailers in the United States and around the globe. And we partner with them and the brands that work with them to really monetize their digital experiences. And what does that mean? Really, we're working to put advertisements on their digital experiences, but more so, we're trying to make our clients become publishers. We want to make the user experience rich. We don't want it to be like 1997, 1998, where you're looking at that experience and you see this flashing advertisement. It's not like that. We want to make it content rich. We want to make it engaging. And we want to increase the traffic to that site, to that user, and to make that user experience as best as it possibly can be. There's a number of different reasons. Obviously, profits are involved in that as well. They go up when user experience is good, and traffic is high. But at the core, we want to enable these retailers to be premium publishers in the space. So take their e-commerce platform, bring in really, really good content with the advertisements, and increase the customer experience to help them out. Now, I made some reference to our clients. John made some reference to them too. Some of these clients you might be familiar with: eBay, Walmart, Sam's Club, globally as the Auto Group. Some really, really good names. We get a lot of traction from that. And we get the benefit of working with the brands that want to be part of their sites as well. So we're kind of working in between. Now, we're also very, very fortunate to have some very strong and very quick growth. What does that mean? Well, that's why we've been using Appian for a year now. That growth has fostered some inefficiencies over time, right? As we've grown, our team has had to grow with it, and processes kind of go from what used to be people sitting in a chair, turning around to each other, making sure that every order that they're working through has its T's crossed and its I's dotted, to let's just get it done. And more team members, more and more clients, becomes a little bit more difficult. More time is spent trying to communicate because those people don't sit next to you anymore. They sit across the globe. They sit in a different state. There's time zones to get through. So we started looking, as John kind of mentioned, we started looking into a business process tool to help us, because we knew that the order, that thing that each person or each client had purchased, was core to us. And we needed a better way to keep track of that. We needed a better way to manage it. So we went out with the mindset of vetting different business process management tools, and we found Appian, and instantaneously our team, who was doing a lot of these questions and trying to get information, how does it work, what's the model, instantaneously said, let's do it. The record is our order. That's it. So for us, what's in our order, we then realized we needed to get our hands around this user engagement layer that you see here, right? So I mentioned before, people are they're going out of process, they're doing what they need to do to get things done. It's all done through email. You guys probably may have come across similar problems before, but we needed a way to make this weird, crazy diagram a bit more streamlined. People would send emails, their communication methods had to increase, but time decreased, which isn't a good combination there. With Appian, we looked at it and said, if we can implement this record, if we can implement the system, that layer goes away. There's increased visibility for all the team members. No matter where these people are, they're able to push work around instead of going into an email queue with multiple email inboxes set up with rules all over the place, and having to then work through different systems of record that you can only see one system of record and the other person needs to see it, but they don't have a license, whatever it be. We have this layer here and the records at the core of it, which really, really powerful. So our solution was to keep the record at the core. Now, but don't want to hold it too far. Let's take a look. So for us here, what you're noticing on the left is the core screen, the record, the filing cabinet, if you will, the different drawers in that filing cabinet. We've got it by our clients. We've got, in this example, Sam's Club, and you'll see there's two links there. There's active orders and all active orders. What does that mean? What did we do? Well, for us, as part of our vetting process, we were thinking through what is the structure going to be? How flexible can we make it? How far can we push the limits? Now again, before we're working off email systems or different systems of record where people don't, know where some of the information is coming from or it's duplicated. So we said, let's take it a step further. Let's allow people to see what they need. So that top link for Sam's Club active orders is actually the Sam's Club team members. They only get to see the orders that they're working on, the records that make sense to them. Now, if they needed to see more, we've got a link there. It's read-only. You can see whatever you need to see. Full transparency. But why should person A get bogged down with 300 different orders when they only need to see 30? Only need to act on 30. Now, at the bottom, you'll see that says all inactive orders there. We actually also took it a step further and said, no matter who you are, no matter when the record or the order has gone through, and when it's completed, we have a historical place for you to go find information about it. So our concept there was try and keep things visible and actionable to those that need them, but keep the transparency high as well. Now on the other side of the screen with the Walmart Sparks, that's what you're actually going to see when you click into one. So for us, we started thinking not only how could we categorize it, but what do you get? How do you sort through it? What I've highlighted here was one of the more important pieces as we started to dig through. You've got search capability, which is searching all of the information within the record on the right side. You've got some start date search capabilities. You've got filters, and those filters are really cool for us because the start date one is actually pulling straight from a Salesforce connector. We're not storing that information. We're pulling it. We're sorting on information from another system of record right there. And the order stage one at the bottom is Appian order and process data. So while this might not seem like a crazy revolution, you guys might be doing similar things. John is going to talk about his. For us, huge. Being able to search, being able to filter from different systems, really reduced the amount of time that people had to spend. And then making the transparency high at the record level allowed users that previously couldn't see all of this information, let alone filter upon it. It gave them some great access. And moving forward, if we were to click into one of those records, we get to the dashboard screen. So we've so far created 5 different dashboards, a summary one and some others. Those are on the left, and we'll walk through them a little bit. But the summary was really a neat option for us. It was the first time, in the first place, we were actually able to bring in process information and visualize it to our users. Again, what I was talking about before, the swivel chair, where people were turning around and saying, hey, do you know where this program is? Do you know where this order is? Or having to shoot an email out and then wait for someone else in a different office to get back to them, which could take hours or days or if time changes. It's right here, no matter who did it. It's available to them. It's at a quick glance. We call that area with the check boxes and the half moons our pizza tracker, right? That's like a Domino's pizza tracker concept. Where is it? Some of it's not as linear as it could be, but for us, it provides the information that those people need at a glance. And of course, at the top right there, we've got our related action, which is also pretty neat because it allows the user to edit the information within this record back to systems of record, whether it be Salesforce or some other system. So we've designed the process and our system in such a way where users can do what they need to do in their system of record, and at a certain point, once they are able to move over to Appian, they don't have to go back because it's right there. We've got the checks and balances associated with it, so you can just do all the information. The other thing I'll note, and we'll get to in a minute, is you'll notice that one of those pizza tracker items, the specialty media one, is actually drillable, so you can actually click into it and get more information. I'll show you in a minute. On the left side, though, those different dashboards, the reason I highlight them, everybody's got their own dashboards at the record level, but for us, again, the visibility, the transparency that we were able to provide to these people was core. And what we've done is we've actually split information out. We've categorized it at a different dashboard level so that the finance team, while they can see all the summary information, they can go straight to the financial details dashboard and see just the information they need, et cetera, et cetera. So just clicking through, showing you a little bit more. Our related actions, the lightning bolts, everybody loves them, right? We've spent more time creating related actions at the record level than we have actions at the global level. The reason I highlight them is because each record allows you, each order for that matter, allows the user to only do things that are appropriate at that time or for their role. So they're role-based and process-based related actions. I'm showing a whole bunch just for context, but what you're seeing here is based on who you are and based on where the process is, the more information and the more you're allowed to do. On the right side, again, is you're seeing a different dashboard that we've built that allows the user to drill down from the previous pizza tracker, as we like to call it, to see what the details of it are. So we've got some different information where people can kind of drill down and see what's involved. All of this increases people's velocity. It increases what they're able to do. It increases the knowledge that they have. Lastly, we've got 2 more slides here, and these are really fun for us. So the one on the left is what we call production details. The reason I bring it up is not because it was really fun for us to build, because it replaced a bunch of paper documents that were versioned and caused a lot of trouble. So you had a template, someone would fill it out, they would send it to a group of 40 people, 10 people would do something with it, the other 30 would just look at it. It would maybe get uploaded to a document repository if people were following the process, and then as that document got edited and passed back around, there could be 7, 8, 10 versions of it, and they're all saved in different spots. Maybe someone got taken off an email string, they went to the document library and they saw version 7, but everybody else was working on version 10. We took Appian, and in a short period of time, we were able to create that same structure in the system. So there's a one-stop shop for those people. Plus, on the right side of the screen, you're seeing our order history dashboard. So similar to the Quick Apps functionality that's being released with 16.2, where they have that activity history, or we have an order history. We're not just tracking what's done on that one dashboard, we're tracking everything. So users can actually come in, use the filters at the top, and again, it's open. Everyone can see it, not just the people associated with that order. You can go check what's happened. You can go see where things are. You can get statuses. You don't have to go turn around and shoot emails out and wait for people to come back with them. It's all right there for you. It's filterable, it's searchable, and it's sortable. Really powerful for us, considering people were working through, again, email or that swivel chair concept. So we've done a lot with records. We've done a lot with Appian in a year, and it's all related to that record. For us, you've heard me say it a number of times, transparency, visibility, it's a really big deal. That's really, really powerful. People gain time just by having that. We've increased our data accuracy just simply because people are looking in one spot. They're not duplicating information in multiple systems anymore. Simple concept, big win. We've got process efficiencies that just comes with using Appian and getting workflow and getting processes in, but it's true, we see it. And we've got that one stop for record data, that one-stop shop. It's been huge for us. We have been, John mentioned in the last talk, for those of you that were able to listen, that the ROI concept, we didn't really have some core baselines. I think Amy was saying the same, that we could reflect back against. But we've had multiple different departments come to us and say, hey, email is way better for us now. We're not bogged down with all of this stuff. 48% of their email has been just gone because they're able to use the system. I'm not lying. We've got multiple people who have sent us little infographics about 48% less email for their role. Just extrapolate that alone. They're saving 30 minutes per person, per order, per record. Extrapolate that out, a couple thousand orders per year, multiple people in those roles, and you've got quite a savings just by helping consolidate their email, let alone the workflow and all the other items that we've kind of helped put in. So that's our record story. Before before I turn it over to John, I wanted to share a quick video with you guys, about a minute and a half. It shows not only a little bit of a more active use of how we use records, but some of the other functionality that we have there too. We're really, really proud, as you heard John say, we're really, really proud of what we've been able to do in a year. We're really proud of working with our development partner, Vuram, to get so much done so quickly. But this should give you guys just a quick overview of what our business has been able to see and how they feel about it. Apologize, sounds like there's no volume, but you can see. Mm-hmm. There we go. All right, so you guys get the idea. John, please let's hear your story. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. So we're here.
Don't worry, we're good.
The few, the proud, the last Appian people standing here today. How many people this morning took any vitamins and supplements? Anybody this morning? No, I don't count caffeine. I work for a company called NBTY. If you saw the panel discussion yesterday, you saw my boss, Karen, go through a discussion about our Appian journey. NBTY is a company that is one of the largest manufacturers of vitamins and supplements. These are just some examples of some of our brands here. You'll see them in some of the same stores that Greg was talking about in terms of where you'll find things like Body Fortress, Osteo Biflex, Disney Gummies. These are some of our brands here. And Nature's Bounty is where we got the alphabet soup name of NBTY. We're owned by a private equity company now. And I noticed, Ben, that you guys got some balance bars in here for some of the breaks. So thank you very much for helping our profits for this quarter. We certainly appreciate that. About 3 years ago, we started on our Appian journey. Karen and I were working together on a project that allowed us to end up in a relationship here with Appian in terms of how we do our process work. We're a little bit different than everybody else that has been presenting here in that our group is specifically a group set up to improve processes. That's our name, Business Process Improvement. And we owned the Appian application until recently. We're in a transition right now. So we always came to look at this from the point of view of process first, right? So we branded the tool at our company because our CIO doesn't like us calling things by the name of the vendor. So we called it Fast Track, powered by Appian. And Fast Track doesn't stand for anything, it's just Fast Track. And our first application was one that was mentioned yesterday, and it took us about 8 to 10 weeks. And we worked with a partner to do our subsequent applications from there. Why did we need a tool like Appian? What is it that we were trying to solve? And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through a couple, actually 3 different applications that we've built on Appian that, are real problems in our business. Any of you who said you took vitamins today, I would assume you'd want to have the highest quality, best quality vitamins that you take every day, something you ingest. We're not regulated like pharmaceutical, but our manufacturing processes are regulated. So one of the key things that we have to do is we have to test each of our products, every single batch, as we make them. So when we look at this poor guy trying to move the rocks around here, the first issue that we're going to talk about today is lab sample tracking. We have 6 labs around the country, and we test thousands of products, thousands of batches of products every single month. One of the issues that we struggled with in the lab testing area was over-testing, and also getting the status update on the tests and prioritization. The last 2 issues were issues for our commercial folks because what they needed to understand was, when is this test going to be completed so I can release that batch so I can send it to Walmart or send it to CVS or Costco, whoever's going to receive the product. And so that was a big deal for us. So the pharmaceutical guys are probably scratching their heads and saying, well, you put it in a laboratory information management system and you're done. And we're heading that direction, but before we get there, we needed something that would help us today to help move product out the door so we could make more money. Product registrations. One of our business units is an international business where we're taking our products, we're making them here in the United States, and we're selling them overseas in more than 80 different countries across the world. Now, when you're selling something that is ingestible across the world, in some of these countries, the supplements can be as closely regulated as over-the-counters and other medication. So we had a very paper-intensive process that was involved in trying to do all of this product registration, which included, as with any paper process, no visibility, long lead times, workload management. You didn't know if Susie needed the extra work or if Johnny needed the extra work because the work was in piles of paper that they were accumulating. In that process, we accumulate dossiers of paper so that we can demonstrate to the Ministry of Health in these other countries as to why the products we're selling to them are safe and reliable for them to be able to sell in their countries. Kind of in conjunction with all of this is certificates of analysis. So these 3 projects all kind of go together. Certificates of analysis come out of our testing process, and they're also documents that are used as part of the registration process. Now, what we had with the certificates of analysis was that, again, very manual process, email requests to these lab QA people at 6 different labs across the country. So we had long lead times, approvals, and the outcome of that could be shipping delays for our product, which increased the length of a supply chain that was already pretty long. So I'm going to go through these and just give you kind of a highlight of what we did in each of those in reference to records. We started in 2013. The first project we did was the store remodels, as you've heard about. And we kind of dabbled a little bit with records of the store remodels, but we really didn't get into it that much. And then we did the first sample tracking project without records. And we did it only at one of our labs, and basically the antibodies rejected that implementation. The lab was not happy with it. We weren't able to give them the same level of information that they needed. And we used it for a while, but we learned a lot from putting that implementation in place. We came in without really understanding what the lab did with all the information that they got. We thought once the test was completed, boom, you're on to the next test. But they actually had a lot of tracking of trends and things like that that they needed to know about the testing of particular products. And so they needed some way of having all that information. And what they were doing is they had these Excel factories where they were taking the information, keeping their lab results on paper, transferring that into Excel sheets, and building mountains and mountains of Excel sheets every single month. So that was sample tracking 1.0. So we went from there, we built product registrations. Now, in each of these cases, our team, the process team, came in and did a lean event. We did Kaizen events for each one of those. We tried to understand everything about what they were doing. We tried to get all that process work done. And so like some of the other speakers were saying earlier today, it's not just about process. And I don't want to make it either or. I think you have to say both and. You need to do the process work, because there's no point in putting a workflow or an automation in place for a process that doesn't work for you today. You know, why would you make it faster if it's already broken and you get to the end state where people are unhappy even quicker? So we did product registrations, and what I don't show here is even for product registrations, we had 2 major releases that came out of that. One thing we found is that in some of these complex processes, the end users cannot envision what it's going to be like to not be in Excel, to not be using paper, until they actually have something that they can touch and see themselves. And so in each one of these cases, we had several major releases that came along. Certificates of analysis came in place after product registrations, but what we were doing as we were doing each one of these in the meantime, we had a weekly cadence where we were talking to the lab people about sample tracking. Every single week we had a meeting with them where we talked about what they didn't like about what was in 1.0, what they needed in 1.1, and we continued to do this work in parallel while we were building these other applications. And so we finally released sample tracking 1.1. We rolled it out across the entire network of the labs, and it is currently proceeding very well. And sample tracking 2.0 was really a few other specific integrated things that we needed to do that they had in mind for us. What was the impact of doing this for them in the labs? Before we did the lean event in the labs, they had a KPI they set for themselves in their labs where certain products had to be tested and released within a 5-day time span. Some other products might be 10 days, and if they had to be sent outside of our network of labs to an external lab for some reason, it could be as much as 21 days. So before we started doing all this work, the on-time percentage was really low, 65% of the time. And the impact of that on our businesses was that they were getting phone calls, emails, getting chased down in the parking lot all the time, because the businesses wanted to get the product out to our companies. If you've got product that needs to go to Walmart, is there going to be any excuse for not getting that product out there on time? Absolutely not. And so one of the key problems that we had was the business really was unhappy with what the quality labs were doing in terms of releasing the testing results for us. Over the last 6 months, we have progressively increased the on-time percentage of lab sample testing until now. The last number I looked at was actually literally where the end of that line is. It was at 94%. And their goal is to be at 95%. So it's pretty good, and the email chatter has completely gone away. One of the really key things that we did for this was we allowed the business to go into Appian and set a priority for which test should go next. What used to happen was that they would call up and they'd say, I need this sample to come out because the truck is ready to go. It needs to leave by Monday. You got to get this sample out. Somebody else in another part of the business would call up and say, I need this sample to go out. They'd get multiple requests for multiple items to be released on time without anybody playing referee. So we actually put in a capability in this data record for them to be able to go in, set a priority, but we only allowed them to set a priority on up to 10% of the samples that were in the system at a time. Okay? So that they couldn't go in there and just set everything at high priority. So the little smiley face you have there is for a sample that is not a hot sample. Okay? Because what we actually want is we want them to be able to do their work, not be on the phone, not be sending emails back and forth with the business. We want the chemists to be doing their work. And that is actually who the users of this application are. These are chemists in a laboratory who are going and getting their work assigned to them based on what Appian is telling them they should do next. Certificates of analysis is related but different in the sense that this is, again, a documentation kind of application where we have completed a test, but for some of our customers, and especially for the overseas customers, they want to see somebody with a signature on a record of the work that was done, and they need that for, sometimes they're tested or asked for after the fact, and so we have to go back and do those tests. So certificates of analysis was another project where we worked very closely with a user group, and we came up with a process where they could get the information from shipping documents. So let me set the stage for you a little bit. We have a container that's going to go to Turkey, and it's full of maybe 50 different types of products. So for every single one of those products in that shipping container, you have to have a certificate of analysis that goes along with the shipping document so that that container can be cleared at customs. It will not be able to be cleared at customs. And so what we used to do is we'd send emails to the quality assurance people with a list of the products on there, and they had to go through this list, get all the certificates of analysis, get the lab managers to sign these certificates of analysis, and then return them to the shipping department so that they could put all of this together and send it off with the product. What could go wrong? You know? And you're doing this across multiple labs. It's not just you're sending it to one person in one lab. You're sending it to multiple people in multiple labs. So what would end up happening is Diana in New York would get the list of the things that were in her lab, and she would get them done and send them back over. Jack in Florida would get the list, and he would do 2 of those, but he would leave off 2 of those. And then everything would kind of sit there until we're coming to the drop dead date on getting the shipment out. And then, you know, you have panic and all that other kind of good stuff with a paper-based process. The biggest thing that we did for them here was we took this shipping list and we were able to consume it in Appian. One of our legacy systems actually emails the shipping list to Appian. And Appian consumes that, takes all the products off that list, and then sends the appropriate product to the appropriate lab. Okay? And so when Diana's finished with her products, she's done with her tasks. It's over. She goes about her life. And Jack in Florida, we can go and say, hey, look, Jack, you haven't done these 2. We need these 2 by this date so we can meet our KPI. Tremendous reduction in the amount of manual work we were doing. Elimination of these missed requests that were causing us so many problems. And again, as Greg was talking about, reduction of emails. Product registrations. This was a very frustrating area for our international department because we cannot sell a new product into a new country or a new product into an existing country unless it's registered for sale in that product, in that country. And this process, again, was very manual. Multiple documents that need to be accumulated and put in a dossier, then sent to our distributor customers in that country, who then go to their Ministry of Health and register the product with them, and then come back to us and say, okay, we've got this product registered. The cycle times were in the range of more than 40 days to go through this. And not all of this under our control, but some of it was under our control. And what we worked at in this area was to reduce the amount of time that we spent putting these document dossiers together. And again, as with the previous 2 projects that I talked about, we did the lean work, the process work, together with the business up front, and then we went forward and successfully rolled this out. So what I've kind of talked about is like a value chain for our customers in terms of getting information around our product quality, about certifying that product quality, and then taking those certifications and providing the documentation that allows them to be offered for sale in an international country. We're so lucky here in the U.S. We can make a product in New York, sell it in California, in North Dakota, anywhere we want without any additional documentation. The international business is very complex and very difficult because of all the additional requirements that you have. One of the last things on the international is you've got the audit trail, you know? So you can actually see exactly what has been put into the record in terms of these lists of documents that are needed. We also did some work in terms of using document templates in here. So in the past, what we had to do when we needed a certain letter, we'd have to get somebody to actually go and get physical stationery with our letterhead on it and print. I mean, you know, print the letter on here and get somebody to actually wet sign these things. So we put in some templates where they could actually just load all the information out of the record into the letter. The letter was sent to the lab manager, and we still had to do some wet signatures. And that's one of the things I'm going to challenge Appian again a little bit on, to to help us work through some of that, because we need to have certified systems for us to be able to do electronic signatures. And so in some cases, we still have to come out and do wet signatures. But I know some of the pharmaceutical people have built certified systems that allow them to do electronic signature. Oops. Oh, almost gave away my surprise. So what did we learn? The one thing that we learned was from that time period when we had 2 other applications we were building, but we were talking to the quality people about the unhappy first version of lab sample tracking. And we talked to these people over and over and over again. We told them, tell us what you want, tell us what you think. We're going to build what is going to work for you. We don't know that. We told them everything that you could possibly tell somebody to enable and empower them about what they needed to do. And even with that, when we were getting ready to roll out 1.1, there was one lab manager who went into a complete panic and absolutely insisted that he didn't know anything at all about what we'd been talking about for the last 3 or 4 months. You cannot over-communicate to a user because you don't really understand how engaged they are until they actually have to do something. Now, we worked with him. His managers were helpful in terms of getting him to be calm about it and realize we weren't doing something that was completely crazy. And eventually, he adopted and became a very big proponent because his lab was one of the biggest Excel factories, and they weren't doing simple Excel. They were doing complicated Excel spreadsheets with a lot of logic in them. And so once they've come on board, they've really, really taken that on board. They've done really well. They would be a place where I could see working with them in Quick Apps or something like that to help them extend and completely get their full buy-in into everything that we're doing. Use of Appian records is absolutely vital in my opinion. We've automated some of these things in relatively short periods of time. Karen, you saw her up here, mild-mannered, sweet lady who kicked our butt to make sure we got stuff done on time and within the schedules that we were asked. We didn't know enough to really be able to plan what the schedule should be for the scope that we picked. That's why she made such a point about thinking about scope when we did these projects. And in the end, we usually ended up in the right place, but almost always we had to come back and do some additional work. So we didn't aim for a minimally viable product. We tried to aim for the best product that we could do in the time frame we were given, but then we've always come back and done a second major release on the products just to make sure that you really get something that will stick for the customers. And by working with Appian and doing this kind of work that we've done in these 3 areas, you might even win something. You know, we were nominated for and we won the Workflow Management Council Award for Excellence in BPM last year with a lot of good help from Ben and the team here to help us put in the application and to work through that. And it's not something that I put up here to brag to anybody about here, but it was so important to our team of developers and our in-house team and the business to understand that the work we had done there had been appreciated and been recognized. And I think it's really such a great opportunity to work with Appian on building these tools and taking things forward. Before I started using a tool like Appian, I had some experience using a much, much more simplistic tool, and I was one of those citizen developers. Okay, the IT department didn't want to see me at all. They didn't want to hear about me. Okay, it wasn't with my current company; it was a previous company. But what I loved about that was I could go in, and if there was something I wanted to try, I wanted to see, I could do that very quickly. And that's what I see the opportunity is with all the new tools that Appian is offering us here. So, thank you very much. I appreciate your time here today.